Ew. So, what was I going to talk about? Can't believe it's already Friday. Almost in the first week of December. Hope it's been treating everyone well. I know it's been a bit of a weird winter for sure, at least up in North America, especially with the El Nino going on. So there's literally like no snow out there in some places, which is quite an unusual circumstance, I'd say. But it can happen with the overall general weather pattern. Anyways, I've also kind of found it unusual at times about why learning a language, it doesn't necessarily have to be English, it could be French too or something like that, is mandatory in school. Like, no matter what you do, you have to take an English class. And doesn't stop until you go into post-secondary or so. And even then, there's value in taking those courses because they're usually, how I put it, they usually don't require prerequisites unless you go into very specific creative writing stuff. So like an engineer could go ahead and take any like English class. Or like any business student can take an English class. I think the reasoning behind it is that, like, without a language, it becomes incredibly hard to communicate an idea. Like, even if you draw images, sometimes you need to annotate those images in order to make the message a little bit more clear, especially what your intentions are. That said, not every message is necessarily the same accessibility-wise. Some things just speak different or hit harder for some people more than others. Some things just hit different. So with that in mind, for today we're going to be working on writing that not everyone like, or might not be some people's particular favorite, but for me, poetry is a type of writing that's very near and dear to my heart. I learned how to do poetry first before all the other writing styles, I believe. Just because it was fun to like rhyme things together. But you know, that's just me. Poetry is like the exact opposite of like essay writing. Unless you're writing an epic whereby, I guess, go at it, tell that story, you do you. But usually poetry is something you can fit onto a single page. And with poetry, because you're limited in that space, you're more forced to consider not only your word choice carefully, but also the sentence flow, how it looks on the page, rhyme scheme, meter. What else is that? Other literary devices like simile, metaphor, extended metaphor, imagery, onomatopoeia. Yeah. All of those come together to create something that is incredibly dense in its meaning. And that's even comparing something like a scientific article, for instance. Because for those, although they're well detailed, you're usually meant to read it like only from one or two ways. With poetry, there's a lot more ambiguity in how you can interpret what the poem is trying to say. Which is why it's so versatile. Instead of writing like pages upon pages of stuff, you could just write something shorter and simpler, but also, I put it, at times more complex. So, for today, I'm going to try out a few writing exercises just to warm myself up, and then probably try out a few short poems like haiku or was it a quatrain, which is 4 lines, or maybe some limericks too. We'll see. So let's get to it. I hope this screen is okay. I might need to adjust it. Let's see. First off, ba, and then I need to change up my font. Black. Okay. Hello. Nice. You know, I could probably zoom in a little bit too. One moment. And then don't want to cut it off my head by accident, because that'd be awkward. Also very hard to explain. Okay. Yeah, let's go with that. So, in terms of ways you can warm up with poetry, there are so many different ways. My preferred way is to consider a phrase or a concept, and then think about how many different ways you can express that. This way, you're not just limited to finding synonyms and stuff like that. You look at it objectively. You see how it can be used in different contexts, as well as like looking at it from different perspectives. So for instance, let's see. I kind of want to do something winter related, because, you know, we're in December right now. So what word would work there? Let's try snow. So, practice. How many ways can you think of this concept? So number 1 is snow. So let's break it down. We could talk about it physically, talking about like it's cold. How do you put it? Icy. Well, no. Solidified, crystallized water. That's being precipitated. So this is a more, how do I put it, physical approach to looking at it. So then we can look at synonyms for cold, for instance. So cold could be something like freezing, not hot, or warm. Biting, numbing. What else is there? Depriving. So all of these are descriptions. I should probably organize this a little bit more between the sensation and what else it evokes. So I'll put that into a sublist right there. Depriving, negative, literally and metaphorically. Okay. So let's keep going through some of the properties then. Blinding. Actually, that reminds me. The Inuit were very crafty people. Still are. But one of their, like, awesome inventions was their own versions of sunglasses, because up north they have a lot of barren tundra, and if you look at the snow too long and at just the right angle, you can get something called snow blindness, wherein there's so much light that hits your retina that it gets overloaded and you can't see for a while. So in order to prevent that, they basically created this eyewear where they would just cut out tiny slits so that it would reduce the amount that was coming in towards your eye and reducing the chance of snow blindness. Really crafty. Good times with that. Anyways, so there's blinding, white, well, kind of translucent actually. Yeah. It's got similar properties to, well, bear fur in that case, because like when you freeze an icicle, right, light still passes through. It just appears white because it's absorbing like a bunch of different wavelengths on the way down. Oh no, wait, I'm thinking black. Sorry, it's how do I put it? It's reflecting light back into your eye, basically, rather than having it be absorbed. Okay, so let's see a few other properties of snow. Hold on a sec. I'll need to cut that out later. I believe that just showed some of my planning documents, and that's fine, I think. Yeah, that should probably be fine. I'll have to go back and probably delete that, just in case, though. Okay. Anyways. So back to properties. Oh, I'm zoomed out. Physical properties. Then symbolic. This has a bunch of things in it. So for instance, snow is associated with the coming of winter, especially if it occurs during like late fall, for instance. The arrival of winter, closely associated with Yuletide. What else is there? Winter sports season. You can't do winter sports without snow. Looking at like snowboarding, skiing. Oh shoot, wait, the Olympics are coming up next year too. Is it summer? Yeah, Paris. Last time was, well, Japan got delayed, and then there was also Seoul 2022. Oh well. Anyways, what else is symbolic about it? Kinda erases, well, covers up everything. Like a blank canvas. else can I say? I believe that's good enough for these descriptions. So let's move on to the main part, other ways to express it. So you could say, this one's my favorite choice, but heaven rejoining earth, which is technically true. It comes from water that's been evaporated and then coming back down as precipitation. You could say that about rain too. A blanket. I don't want to say smothering, but like, for dormant / dreaming life? Sure. Let's see. Herald of Death. This one's, how I put it, a bit of an interesting one, because like, how I put it, I know I'm going with this one, but it's like, with the onset of winter, there usually is associated with, if you're caught unprepared, then you pretty much die. And in some cultures, white is associated with death, such as like certain Asian cultures, as well as, I mean, wedding dresses are white, right? But in the original context, I can't remember if it was queen or a noblewoman, but she wore a white dress because she was getting remarried, but she was still mourning the loss of her other husband. And eventually that caught on and evolved into what we have today. So yeah, white. White, cold, everything's in the dead of winter, so I think Herald of Death would be appropriate. I think I'm focusing, but there's multiple aspects to it. This one's definitely more on the grimmer side, like darker. So let's balance that out. Gentle kiss from winter. I remember reading a few articles about whether or not you could eat snowflakes. Actually, you know what? Let me double check that before I talk about it. Can you eat yellow snow? No, don't do that. Okay. There is, in Quebec, a certain dish where they basically put a stick into hot maple syrup and then wrap it around in a coating of snow. I can't remember the name of it, but they do serve it. Even at certain francophone enclaves. Let's see, don't eat fallen snow, no duh. But I guess as with any precipitation, it's gonna make contact with like contaminants in the air. So like dust from car exhaust, coal, nitrogen oxide, sulfur, if it's really bad. Yeah. Anyways. Let's do blank canvas waiting for to be spoiled by life again. Oh shoot, I forgot to add something. Ephemeral. Meaning it doesn't last very long. There we go. Okay. How else can we express it? I'm sure there's more than 5 ways, right? Produces vision in a blizzard. How else could you describe a blizzard then? A relentless, numbing onslaught. So that's leaning more towards the negative side. I should probably go with something a bit more happy. Winter sports or activities. Despite the stillness. No, wait. Stillness was a prelude to much excitement. There we go. Need something a bit more along those lines. How to describe skiing and snowboarding? Something not seen by millions of people? I think that has a certain weight to it. Let's see. No. Let's see. Stark contrast. Okay, I think we should have enough to write a poem. So I'm gonna do a haiku then. Haikus are basically, well, nowadays they've kind of standardized towards a 5-7-5 form. with, I'm gonna quote Tail Foundry on this one, as they did a real deep dive into the origins of poetry as well as like some of the masters of it. Let me find the video where they specifically talk about that. For Tail Foundry, they made a video called Writing the Impossible Poem. And in that they talk a lot about, wait, let me just double check my stuff. Yeah, okay. They talk about how poetry usually has a lot of focus towards nature. So it's usually a pretty, how do I put it, mundane observation. But due to it being within a haiku format, the format itself elevates that observation into something more profound about either the state of man or the state of the world. Again, this is mostly based off from what I watched from Tail Foundry Writing the Impossible Poem. And that's just a very brief summary. Does not do enough justice to the amount of time and drawings that they put into that. So please check them out. Tail Foundry is an awesome resource that every author should look into in order to get more insight into others' writing, as well as like get some help for their own writing. Anyways, so let's get started. So haiku practice. You know what? Let me put in something else. Sea of blinding diamonds. Lasting, frozen in place, but lasting for a short time. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's try this out. So 5, 7, 5, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. I keep going back to crystals. Let's see. Glittering crystals. 5. Leave the heavens? No. Rain? No. Pour from the heavens. Pour from the heavens. I need a 2-syllable word here. An adverb. Relentlessly. Continually. Quickly. Gently. That's it. Gently pour from the heavens. Onto the streets. Onto the street. That's 4. This should be. Onto the bare. Onto the bare ground. Okay, there we go. Glittering diamond. Shining diamonds. Pour gently from the heavens onto the bare ground. That's not bad. Because in this case, it's talking about how shiny and precious it looks. And going from something really majestic and highly valuable onto something that's like real, on something that's grounded and mundane. That's pretty good. Dang. Okay, let's try one more. So. Let me just pull that. And there's the poem. Actually, that kind of reminds me. Cold Fusion. Was it Cold Fusion? No, shoot, it was a BBC article. About how either BBC or CBC. No, I think it was a CBC article. Let me find it. Yeah, that's it. It was a CBC article. But there's been an issue wherein certain companies just straight up take copyrighted materials, compile it, and then use that as a library to train like artificial intelligence, which is quite a scary thought. Like, I bet sure it's a wealth of information, so it probably wouldn't be able to on purpose like copy one particular writing style. Or sorry, it wouldn't accidentally copy one particular writing style. But if you gave it the right prompts, it seems it's able to replicate or at least summarize the plot of another person's story. And hell, there's even chatbots out there which can supposedly replicate another person's like personality, which is, I know. I know Cold Fusion made a video on something like that. I can't remember what the service was. But the gist of it was that it started off as a person's wish to try to communicate more with a friend who suddenly passed away. So she created an AI, fed that AI, or fed that chatbot like a bunch of her friend's texts, until eventually she had something that could reasonably replicate what her friend would say in response to her prompts. I guess what I'm trying to get at over here is like, AI for sure is going to be some sort of disruptive property. I just wish that they would respect the source material a little bit more. Like, a lot of that information from that scraper, let me find the article for it actually. I'll just mention it in path. Well, how to do this? You know what? Yeah, this deserves proper credit actually. I wish I could put in links to articles and stuff, but unfortunately I haven't. YouTube hasn't seen my channel. But yeah, there's an article published by the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company, by Valerie Ouellette, Sylvain Gilchrist, and Shaki Suthar-Sun. And they basically went through about how a certain company was scraping a bunch of authors' works, like thousands of authors, in order to give to other AI development companies so that they could use it to train their AIs. And it seemed like that scraping did not have permission from a lot of the authors. And that's concerning because, like, if I were to use another person's work for commercial purposes, that immediately puts a red flag on that work and enables it to be, like, DMCA'd. Like, how do I put it? The moment that money becomes involved, you're for sure gonna they're for sure gonna play hardball with you and try to get it shut down. Which is expected because a lot of these authors need that royalty or those royalties from their books and other cash inflow in order to make a living, which, you know, if you're writing books for a living, you kind of need to do. I wonder if my work's ever gonna get hijacked like that. It's always a possibility in today's, like, in today's internet, but who knows? Anyways, let's try another haiku based on snow. So this one was mostly dealing with the contrast between highly valuable, like almost supernatural, and like hard reality. So let's try something, I guess a bit more celebratory. Yeah, let's try this. Trees. Fall asleep. The trees fall asleep. Nice. Under a blanket of snow. Under a blanket of snow. Nice, wow. 7 syllables. How to end this? Woken by. Woken by. I need 2 syllables. Taurus. Ah. This is the only one which I think fits, but Taurus could also work too. Or snowboards. Let's try this for now, yeah. So this one's more tongue-in-cheek. Oh. Yeah. Let's try one more, then move on to a different prompt. So we talked about excitement. We can talk about death. Let's see. Color drains from all. Leaving only weight. Leaving only weight. Only. Bleaching? No. Leaving the world. Leaving the world numb at night? No, wait. As darkness arrives. As darkness arrives sooner. Yet life will return. Nice. Okay. Color drained. Color drained. Landscape. Color drained coolness. Oh, that could work. Heralds. Quickening dark. Heralds the quickening dark. Nice. Yet life will return. Okay. So 3 very different poems based off the same idea of snow. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm good stopping there. I need to go back and re-edit that part, but it's not too big of a deal since it mostly just shows a few planning documents and not anything too incriminating. But I guess you never know. So yeah, at the point of... I love doing poetry. I wish I had more time for it, but some days, like, you just kind of tire out. Some days you're just simply at a loss for words. But one should never stop writing. Like, if it weren't for this sort of reflection work I'd probably be feeling a lot more lost right now. But by constantly writing about stuff, I'm able to, for one, for sure, check my own perspective, figure out like what I see in life. But in writing in the voice of another person, you can sort of see things their way. But you also gotta be careful not to, what's the word? Sort of like take over that perspective. Like, appropriate it. If you're ever writing in the voice of the other person, you have to really be sure you understand them. Like top to bottom, inside out, alone, and in the context of the world around them. I guess another thing too about writing is that when stuff like this, there's a certain joy that comes to like finding that that like one line or maybe 3 lines that just sync up so well together. The joy of finding a new word to describe how cold it is out there. When you write, you constantly push yourself to try newer and newer things. Because if you wrote the same thing over and over, it kind of gets boring after a while. Unless you're trying to learn a new language and trying to, improve your vocabulary in that sense. But, once you get the hang of those fundamentals, you have to keep trying to build up, trying to find something new. So, yeah, I guess for next time, hope and try more, maybe different types of poetry. Kind of want to write like a sonnet, but that takes a lot of work, and my brain is numb right now. So maybe for next time. Anyways, hope you all have a good night.